Stop the wedding and smile for the camera because it's episode 5 of the chilling adventures of Sabrina, and this one is sure to put you to sleep. See what I did there? Oh, okay, I'll stop. While Sabrina's in her room dealing with the Acheron, Hilda and Zelda enjoy a nice book. Hilda is reading The Turncoat by Donna Thorland, a romance novel set in 1777, and seems to be enjoying it thoroughly. It makes so much sense as to why Hilda would fall in love with this book in particular, but I'll get into that a bit later. Zelda, on the other hand, is reading the good old Dark Lord's Satanic Bible. As Hilda mentions she wants to work at Dr. Cerberus's, Sabrina comes screaming through the door to let everyone know she's freed a demon into the house. But no worries, as the saying goes, anything that comes out of an Acheron can be put back into an Acheron. Except Sabrina left it with the demon. Zelda, Hilda, and Sabrina escape through this neat secret passageway that seems to run all throughout the house. Meanwhile, Ambrose has gotten his latest issue of Masculine Shape, which I can only assume he reads for the articles, before he hears the commotion upstairs. Fortunately for everyone, Zelda has protocols in place for a rampant demon. They seal the house with a spell to prevent it escaping into the outside world. The four begin a chant in Latin which roughly translate to "Spirit of the air and your almighty power, bind this entrance a trap for this demon." My Latin translation isn't perfect, Google Translate, but I've noticed a number of the incantations in this show have called to this spirit of the air. The demon appears from upstairs and seems to have a real grudge against the Spellmans. Looks like Papa Spellman had her trapped in the Acheron for 70 years, and she is pissed. And what's the first thing you do when you're pissed off and ready for revenge? You turn on some tunes. Naturally, her song of choice is Dream a Little Dream by Ella Fitzgerald because, after all, this is a sleep demon. Think Freddy Krueger. At this point, it seems as if nothing happens, but the song actually puts everyone to sleep. So when Aunt Zelda pulls out an urn and traps the demon, it's all actually a dream. Same goes for the post-banishment tea time. We learn that Sabrina's dad suffered from terrible insomnia because of this sleep demon, and thus trapped it in a puzzle that only a half-witch could solve. Hilda also mentions she uses foxglove to help her sleep, something that will make an appearance later on in the episode. Before bed, Sabrina asks Hilda what would have happened if they hadn't trapped the demon, and lo and behold, she's about to find out.
Dream of sweet kisses.
The sleep demon has separated the Spellmans so their dreams can't cross with each other, and then plans to torment them until one breaks and releases it from the house. Naturally, it'll brutally murder them all. As the demon tucks Sabrina in, Wardwell peers through her wet willy mirror and recognizes the demon. She calls it Batabat, a demon found in Filipino folklore.
I'm a demon.
A Batabat takes the form of a huge old fat woman, sounds about right here, and if you sleep near one she'll sit on your chest and suffocate you. It is said that to ward off a Batabat you should wiggle your toes or bite your finger. Later in the episode, Wardwell uses a prick on Sabrina's finger to wake her up. Batabat recognizes Wardwell as the mother of demons. In my episode 3 breakdown, I mentioned Wardwell seems to rank higher than Faustus and was possibly a demon. Guess she's also the mother of them. Wardwell warns the demon not to harm Sabrina. Mommy forbids it. But Batabat is pissed and smashes the mirror, shattering Wardwell's connection to the room. And there's nothing she can do now. The Spellman house is bound. No one in, no one out. Sabrina's dream starts at Baxter High, where both her witchly and mortal worlds mold together. She's bullied by the weird sisters in cheerleader uniforms before Nick comes in and basically compliments Sabrina on her all-around awesomeness. But before he can ask her to prom, enter Kinkle. And Dream Harvey's got more than just a prom invitation in mind. He's proposing! Notice the red light here. It makes an appearance in all of Sabrina's dreams this episode. Here in the lights, and then again at the ceremony in the background, and then everywhere else. You may have noticed Ambrose, Hilda, and Zelda have their own colors too. Ambrose being blue, check it out in the background here, and the light in his autopsy room. Hilda's is yellow, while Zelda's is purple. You'll also notice places where the purple and yellow are placed together, which is likely due to how connected the sisters are. Back in Sabrina's dream, she tells Harvey, while wearing her mother's wedding dress by the way, that she's a witch, but Harvey doesn't seem to care, and everything is sunshine and rainbows. Yay! Nick makes one last attempt to woo Sabrina.
We can hop on this broom and fly off and never look back.
But that ain't happening.
He loves me.
Aww. And look, Daddy Spellman is there to give her away, and her family is there too. Her friends and principal are there, and oh good, Weird Bunny Mask made it too. But unfortunately, so did the Kinkles, who've turned all angry mob on the place. Harvey betrays Sabrina, and she gets thrown into a spiked cage. This is Sabrina's greatest fear. being betrayed by the mortals she loves, which is all in Badabat's plan. All Sabrina has to do to be freed from this torment is tell her how to break the binding spell. Next up is Ambrose. He's got to tend to a new dead body, a tragic shut-in with no friends and no one to mourn him. Here we come to one of Ambrose's greatest fears, which is why it's no surprise that when he and Hilda open the body bag, it's himself. Stabbed just like Connor was, another one of Ambrose's fears. As Ambrose begins the autopsy on himself, he begins to speak lines from Shakespeare. "Alas, poor Ambrose, I knew him well," a famous line from Hamlet, with Ambrose being York. This is from the iconic graveyard scene, the one where Hamlet famously holds the skull of a jester he knew as a child. And just like what Ambrose is confronting in this scene, its meaning revolves around the fleeting nature of life. Ambrose's use of Shakespeare here, as well as ashes to ashes, dust to dust, used in the English burial service and Genesis 3:19, likely attributes to his personality as a great warlock scholar and academic. He also goes all Khaleesi and eats his own heart. Apparently it tastes bitter. Ambrose then runs into Wardwell, who's entered the dream world in search of Sabrina, before being told he's free from his house arrest. But just as he goes to leave, Badabat stabs him like a bajillion times. Typical. When he awakes, he's stuck in his own body, same as earlier in the dream, forced to feel himself being autopsied on over and over again. Third on the docket is Hilda, who gets a call to visit Principal Hawthorne, and boy is the sexual tension high. Things nearly explode when Hawthorne says he wants to cook for her.
Saucy.
Hilda prepares for a hot date and dreams Zelda asks,
Who could love you?
This is Hilda's fear, no self-worth. Who could ever care about her? Dream Hawthorne will. He set her up with quite a spread and calls her voluptuous. Drunk Hilda ascends the stairs and mentions she hasn't been this drunk since Queen Victoria's coronation, which took place in 1838. She was likely born in that era, and considering her desire to be loved, a romance novel set in 1777 fits the bill perfectly. But this is a nightmare and not a romance. Hawthorne's also got a strange connection with his sibling. He absorbed him in the womb.
I now have the strength of a grown man and a little baby.
Not only that, his brother's Quado from Total Recall. While Hilda was passed out, he surgically tied her to Zelda. What a nightmare. Last up is Zelda, who's having dark story time with some children when the Weird Sisters drop by to let her know Satan's coming over for dinner. Hilda plans to cook him a nice vegetable pie, while Zelda has, different plans. Fergus.
It's what's for dinner.
The Dark Lord arrives, and naturally Satan is played by Faustus Blackwood. Makes sense considering how the High Priest is the Dark Lord's representative on Earth, and also how highly Zelda views him. He asks what's planned for dinner and chooses to eat Hilda's veggie pie when he hears the child Zelda cooked was a child of night. And this is one of Zelda's greatest fears, being a disappointment to the Dark Lord. Zelda goes into hysterics after the Dark Lord's rejection. Funny how it's also rejection by Blackwood. I assume this is something that happened in reality as well. Once the Dark Lord's gone back to hell, a jealous Zelda murders her sister, just as she's done many times before. But this time Hilda isn't getting up, and Zelda's worst fear of all comes true, being without her sister forever. Back at the Red Wedding, Miss Wardwell finally finds Sabrina and lets her know this is all actually a dream. She's gonna wake Sabrina up so she can run the hell away. Back in the real world, Wardwell gets her Sabrina doll out, accessories sold separately, and gives her a prick on her finger to wake Sabrina from the nightmare. Badabat goes on a hunt for Sabrina while she remembers about using the Acheron to trap the demon once again. No way she's gonna run and leave her family for dead. She visits Ambrose to try and wake him, but he ain't budging, so Sabrina checks his books for a banishing spell. Her best shot right now is to try and surprise Badabat and send it packing into the puzzle. Downstairs, Badabat is looking for Sabrina in a gramophone when Sabrina gets the jump on her. But Sabrina isn't powerful enough to get the spell working. According to Badabat, she has no power, conviction, or will. Badabat slaps the Acheron out of Sabrina's hand, smashing it to pieces on the floor, and gashes Sabrina's arms up something fierce with fingernails that haven't been clipped in a few centuries before Sabrina escapes in one of the house's secret passageways. Sabrina makes one more attempt to wake her family up, but again it has no effect. The only way she'll be able to get help from them is to go back into the dream world. Remember Aunt Hilda's mention of Foxglove earlier in the episode? Sabrina's going to use it to put herself to sleep and reach her family. Salem glamours himself to look like Sabrina and distracts Frida Krueger while Sabrina sets a timer for 2 minutes and goes off into the dream world undisturbed. First she meets with Zelda, the natural first choice for everything spells, but she's far too distraught in her nightmare to be any help. Next Next is Hilda, who actually is very helpful. She says you have to trap the demon the same way you trap a dream, like with a dream catcher, and what could be a better weaver for a dream catcher than Hilda's familiar, the spiders. Last up is Ambrose. He's going to distract Batabat. As the demon catches up with Glamour Salem, she gets a call from Ambrose, who's ready to spill his guts now that his guts have been spilled enough. But it was all a distraction to give Sabrina time. Time to get her and the spiders in place to dream catch the nightmare and save the day. And everyone awakes, trapping Batabat away in a super secure jam jar. Hope no one gets adventurous with their cooking spices and forgets. After the ordeal, Sabrina gives Harvey a call for some much needed comfort and gets reminded about Miss Wardwell visiting her in the nightmare. Looks like someone's got some splaining to do. Thanks guys for watching. I love putting these videos together for you. I'm gonna try to get this whole season out as soon as I can, but in the meantime make sure to like, subscribe, share, you know, all that fun stuff. And until next time, keep traveling down that path of night.